Hello, Uncle Jim here. Today I want to share with you how to keep things simple when selling options. I found when I first started out, a lot of the channels or the individuals who were teaching options made it very complex. I want to kind of make it a lot simpler and easier to understand and kind of share how I got started. I'm also going to share at the end of the video how I did this week. I actually did 4 trades and did over $700. So I'll share those trades and what I think may be left between today and tomorrow for the rest of the week. It's one of my better weeks. So stay tuned. I think you're really going to enjoy what I have for you today. I've been selling options for many years. I started with cover calls. In about 2 years, I decided I wanted to learn the right way to do this. And this is why I'm sharing, how to keep things simple. Because when I first started, I was very confused. The wording was confusing to me. I think one of the first trades that I did, and this was years ago with a cover call, I actually called Schwab and had them walk me through the process because I was really confused with the terminology. Sell to open, sell to close, buy to open, buy to close. It was very confusing to me. So in this video, I hope to keep things as simple as possible and give you some ideas or some tricks that helped me when I first got started. So first of all, I like people to understand that when you sell options, the funds are deposited right away. It's almost like selling insurance. It happens right away and the money gets deposited in your account very quickly. Let me just give you an example, a story. I went to a drag race with my son here in Atlanta and really didn't, I had some extra time. I'm more into it now, but back then I wasn't really into drag racing. Now I know a lot more about it. To me, it was very confusing, almost like options confusing. So I decided to look on the market while I was sitting there with him watching some of the drag racing, and the market was down pretty big that day, and decided to sell some options, and I made enough money while I was there watching the race with my son to pay for the whole trip, which was really nice, and I've done that other times too. It's, I've found I've been able to pay for a trip fairly quickly or something else, by just selling some additional options, maybe taking a little bit more time to do an extra trade or two. Now I've kind of fallen into a routine. I typically will do 3 to 4 trades a week and make between $600 and $800 a week, and that's worked out well for me. Now when I first started, I did what was called the options wheel strategy, and let's keep it as simple as possible. I'll have a video up here if you want to dig deeper. I have a video about selling or using the options wheel strategy during a bear market. So details, if you want more details, it'll be in that video. So I encourage you to take a look at that. Now with the option wheel, it's really 2 trades. It's you start with selling a cash secured put. Now I stay away from naked. I always have enough cash to pay for my trades on both sides, both with puts and with calls. And then so initially, and let's use an example of a stock. Let's use Cisco, and this is the networking company Cisco, CSCO. And let's say it's $40, and I want to purchase it because I like Cisco. I like their dividends. I like the fact that they're growing, and I want to buy more. So what I decide to do is, and to keep this simple, instead of getting into the Greeks and looking at all these specific details, I decide, well, I want to buy it below where it is now, and I want it 10% below where it is now. So I'll look at a strike price, again using a price of $40. Cisco's at 40. I'll look at a strike of 36, and then I'll try to find an expiration where I can make enough money to make it worth my while. I try to earn pretty close to $100 per contract, not per trade. I typically do 2 contracts with every trade currently, meaning I try to shoot for $200 with every trade. I encourage you, though, if you're just getting started, just do 1 contract until you get used to it, and do it with less expensive stocks. Don't, stay away from really expensive high flyers like Meta or, some of those that are above $100 or above $200, $300, $400. So at first you sell that put option, you pick up the premium on the front end. Now, if it gets assigned to you, meaning you now own the stock, then you can sell a covered call On the flip side, again, earn premium from selling that covered call. And when you sell a covered call, it's just selling someone the opportunity to buy your stock. So then you pick up premium then on that side. And if it gets assigned to that person, then you get the cash coming from the sale of those stocks. And then you can redo the process again because it becomes like a wheel. You sell a put, it gets assigned. You sell a call, it gets assigned. You sell a put, it gets assigned. And it works just like a wheel. And I typically use 10% on both sides. So for the call, I also look for a strike that's 10% above where it currently is. So in that same example, say I picked it up at $36, well, I'll look at seeing if I can sell a strike around $40, and that's what I keep doing. So on both sides, I try to use that 10%, and that's instead of jumping into the Greeks and making it very complex. The Greeks, you've got delta, gamma, theta, you've got all those details, and it can get very confusing. If you stick to a 10%, like I've done in the past, it's worked out quite well for me. And I actually find myself still doing that, even though I understand how the Greeks work. And a lot of times with my trades that I share, I'll talk about delta. But I still like to go back to that 10% because it seems to work quite well for me. Another important point to kind of keep things simple, I always start with a cash secured put. So if I'm looking to buy more stock, then I'm never doing it naked. I'm always having enough cash to pay for those shares. But when I look at selling that put, I also, when I'm in the midst of the trade, I'll look out, say $10. So let's use the example of $36. I'm looking at Cisco at 36. Well, I'll look to see, can I buy a put at 26 or even a little higher than 26, maybe 27, 28, 29. And if I can get it cheap, meaning to me that's typically been lower than $20 or preferably even under $10, then I will also buy that put and turn it into what's called a vertical put credit spread. And it's a vertical put credit spread because I keep the expiration the same for both contracts. And that's how I typically look at all my vertical put credit spreads. They start as cash secured puts, then they become vertical put credit spreads. And I'll talk more about that at the end of the video when I go through my trades for the past week. But I thought that was pretty important to mention to most people. And what's really important too is just to get started, make your first trade. Pick an inexpensive stock. I've mentioned in previous videos, use something like Lumen, Lumn. It's right around $10, so you could do one contract for next to nothing. Pick up a couple of dollars, maybe $15 or $20, and do a few trades and get used to it because the terminology does get a little bit confusing. And then what else? Another important point is also managing your trades. So once you start, and I encourage you to do this from day one, do like what I do. This spreadsheet I show you, I actually share this with my Patreons, or patrons, not Patreons, but my patrons, and I release it every Sunday or Monday, typically Monday morning, and I keep track of all my trades. I keep more detail. I've made changes to it over time, and I encourage you to do the same thing. Keep track of what you're doing so you can learn from your mistakes, and you can, look at how you've done over time and compare how you're doing now compared to how you did a while back. Like I've been doing this for 2 years with both puts and calls and using multiple strategies, and I've got 2 years of history that I can look at and see how I'm doing, and I'm doing a lot better now than I was back then. So now let's jump into the worksheet review. I'm going to jump into that next, and for this week I've done $754 and I did 4 trades, so I've been able to do between $600 and $800 every week, and that's worked out quite well for me. So we'll jump into that next, and I'll go through my trades, so stay tuned. Okay, I've opened up my weekly spreadsheet for this week. Before I jump into the details, I do want to mention if you're enjoying this, if this is helping you, please hit that like button and subscribe. Still a growing channel. I'm getting close to the 1,000 subscribers, so please subscribe if you like what I'm doing and you want to be notified in the future, please also hit that notify button. And as always, I have more details down in the description. I've got information about my Patreon memberships. So I encourage you to take a look. It may be something that you're interested in. And I released this exact spreadsheet I released earlier this week on Monday morning to my memberships. And at the very top, I'm going to talk about these are my favorites. These are trades that I'm currently looking at making. I actually did make one with Google earlier in the week, and the other three I'm still looking at. So with that being said, let's actually jump into it. So here at the top, one thing you'll notice is if you've been watching the channel for a while, my weekly goal, I've changed it from 600 to 700 a week. So, and I've been able to bypass that too. I may end up at some point changing it to 800 a week, but I still work. I still do a lot of software development. So this is something that I enjoy and I like sharing with others because it's given me the ability to be financially independent. And my goal is to allow others to do the same thing. It's not that difficult, and I like to keep it simple. So let's actually jump into the trades. These are my top stock picks, and I've actually got two ETFs. So XLF is it's an exchange traded fund, and it's related to the financial industry, and it typically has a lot of activity and a lot of premium. And one thing that I find really interesting about it is 14% of it is with Berkshire Hathaway. So it's one way to actually invest in Berkshire, or Warren Buffett's Berkshire. So, and here I mentioned what type. So I'm looking at cash secured puts. I didn't really have anything expiring this week, so these are all new trades. And this is green for Google because I did go ahead and actually make a trade earlier in the week with Google. So I mentioned this, the current price, the strike price, the expiration, the different deltas. You can see all the deltas. And again, I'll just quick description for delta. It's just the probability that something will expire without being assigned. So like for this first one, it's 19.7. So that's like a 19, almost 20 delta. So it's like an 80% chance it'll expire outside the money, meaning the actual stock price will never hit 32. And with the expiration that I was looking at, and I looked at most of these, I believe, on Sunday. I spent some time digging around. And then I also mentioned what premium with this expiration and that strike price. And I also talk about the reasons, why I like the different companies or ETFs. So I haven't done anything with XLF, but the market's up today. If it's down majorly tomorrow, then I very well might make a sale with XLF and actually sell a put. Next is SCHD. This is a Schwab dividend ETF. I've had it for a while. I actually own quite a bit of it, and it's been a really good ETF for me. Has done quite well. It pays a nice dividend, over 3%. So it's currently, I think it's dropped a little bit. It may be closer to 75 now, or it was yesterday. And I'm looking to pick it up at 72. That's the strike. Again, looking at an October expiration, and it at an 18 delta, it would generate $65 in premium. So if you've never heard of SCHD, I encourage you to take a look. It's, like I said, it's done quite well with me, and I've actually sold a lot of calls on it and puts. I believe I picked up 100 shares using the wheel earlier I think it was last year that I actually picked those up. Now Lumen, I've done a lot with Lumen. I've done a lot of videos on Lumen. It's if you've got a small account and you just want to get started, it's a great stock to use to get started. Here I mentioned $11. I believe it's a little bit below that. I believe it's like 10.90 or something along those lines. But you could do a cash secured put, strike of 9, so you would only need $900 expiring on November 18th with a 17 delta, and you'd pick up $26. So if you're just getting started, it's a great way to, like I said earlier, to learn the basics. And it also pays a really good dividend. So if you picked it up at $9, I believe that would be over a 10% dividend. So, and I own some, and I have quite a few puts currently outstanding that that I've sold in previous months. So a great one to look at. Now Google, it's I've been looking at them for a while. I've sold a lot more Apple than Google, but like I said earlier, I'm a software developer. I work with Google. I actually use their cloud products. And it's a company I like. Of course, I like it because of YouTube. I've also like it because of the search engine optimization and different things. I do like Google, but it's been very pricey, and up until you know their split recently, they've just been too pricey for me. So I did sell one earlier, and we'll talk about that. But originally, I was looking at the current price at 118. I wanted to pick it up at 107. I believe I picked it up less than that with an expiration of 9/23. Now, Google has a lot of activity, so it's a lot easier to find expiration days. With ETFs, sometimes you don't have as many choices with expirations, but a company like Google or Apple, there's quite a bit to choose from. And this is with an actual 15 delta, so even less risk, and it would pick up over $100. So you can see the benefit of doing something like Google. And again, it's a great company. It's still growing, very optionable. And now let's go through the actual trades. And the first one, of course, is Google. And I did it on 8/22. I did 2 contracts. I did a vertical put credit spread. So the short strike, which is where I picked up premium, was 102, and the outer strike was 95. So like 750 is the spread between the two. The delta was 17, so I did go a little bit higher in the risk. It expires on October 21st. Current price is 116, and I believe, what was the premium? Yeah, I picked up for the two 195, so right under $100 per contract. So let's see, let's move this so you can actually see it. So yeah, so I picked up 172, and then I paid 73. So I did pay a bit more than usual for the put that I purchased. So, but at a low price, I would really be surprised if Google would go to 102. Now, if the market crashes, it very well could hit 102. I saw that with Apple. I'm still looking at Apple, but I want Apple around 130, 140. I don't want to pay 160, 170 for it. Next is Camping World. This is a stock I like to sell or work with quite a bit. It also pays a good dividend. I also did this one on 8/22, and this was an actual roll. So I rolled it. It was 20 was the original strike, and I rolled it out to 12/16, and it took a newer strike of 24. So I rolled it from 20 to 24 with a 19, nearly 20 delta. And you guys may be thinking, well, why did you go higher in the strike? Well, it's over 31 currently, and at 24 that was a $19 strike, and it was paying really good premium. So I almost couldn't refuse. So I paid, you can see here, 137 for the short for the new with the new expiration, and I paid $10 to close the old one. So Camping World, another inexpensive stock, has lots of premium. So I encourage people to look at that. Another great opportunity to pick up some good premium and a good company. Their earnings, I believe, have done pretty well, and they do pay a nice dividend. Now BP, this one's kind of interesting. This was actually BPMP. Well, this is what I'm looking at. I currently are looking at 2 things that I haven't done a trade, but BP, I originally liked BPMP, which BP diversified that. Now recently they bought it back, and I own some shares with that. So they closed down my BPMP shares, and I picked up BP shares. So that kind of caused me, I was looking at selling covered calls on it, so I dug a little deeper into BP, and I really like their earnings. I really like what they're doing. They did cut dividends not too long ago, but they're still over, I believe, over a 4% dividend, and their numbers look really good. So I decided to sell a vertical put credit spread, and I did a short strike of 27. and like I said before, it started as a cash secured put, and I found that the 20 was fairly inexpensive, so I went ahead and bought the put at $20, which had a 20 delta 0.20, so that's a 20 delta, and it's expiring a little farther out, 1/20/23. So I am trying to pick up, like I said before, I like to pick up 100 per contract, and and to be able to do that, I'm having to go a little bit farther out, and I'm also wanting to keep the strikes fairly low. It's currently at, what is that, 32? Yeah, 32.24. So 27 is quite low for it. If you look at it in Schwab, or you get a graph of BP, it's traded in a very small range compared to a lot of other stocks. I believe 27 may even be below its 52 or 3-year low. For that, I picked up $151, so not quite my 200 idea, and it looks like I did. Well, these are double, so I paid a little over, or I got a little over 100, and I paid about 25 if you divide these by 2. So I did pay around $25 for the outside put that I purchased, which was at $20. Um, but 151, not quite my 200 that I was shooting for, but for an inexpensive stock of what, $32 with a 27 strike, that's pretty good. Sometimes it's really hard to make that kind of money on an inexpensive stock. I look at BP as inexpensive at $27, especially if you compare it to Exxon and Chevron and some of those, which are a lot more expensive. Next, I did ARKK. Now this is left over. I bought ARK well before I actually sold options on it, and I have had some options assigned, but I've been able to get some good money covered call wise. Now I rolled it. It was originally 12.16. I rolled it out. Actually, I kept it at 12.16. I just lowered the strike price. So I lowered it to, I guess I didn't write it down here. Or did I? Current price, expiration. Oh, wait, it was 60. I know I rolled it down to 57, so I forgot to put the new strike price. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I must not have put it in there. I believe I rolled it. Yeah, I rolled it down to 57, and I picked up $156 for that. Now, what's unique about this is you could tell it wasn't going to expire for quite a while, but at $60, it was way outside the money. It's currently, the price of ARK is 44.54, so at $60, it was like a three delta, or like 97% chance it would never reach 60. So I lowered it, and was able to pick up more premium with it. So that's ARK Innovative, and those are the 4 trades. I'm also looking at BP. So like I mentioned before, I've got BP that came from my BP MP when it was merged, or when BP purchased it back, and I think I got some weird odd lot number like 176. So I recently bought another, I think it was 26 shares, so I got a rounded 200 for BP. So that's why I put this here. Probably this week or next, I'm going to do a cover call with BP. It does have good, it's very optionable and has some good money, so that's why I have it here. And then I have Corning, which is GLW, which is also a covered call, and it's also way outside the money. I've got a covered call that is, I believe it's 5, like a 5 delta, so it'd be 95% chance it would expire outside the money. So I'm looking at also doing, or rolling or changing a covered call for it. So now here you can actually see, so I did 754.90, And this is just from last week for 3 hours, which it probably didn't even take me 3 hours. I do this from time to time when I have time during the week, and so the the four trades probably took probably two hours, maybe not even. Again, I've done so much research on the front end that I know what I want to own. So typically, it's a matter of just determining how far out I want to go with the expiration and what I want to do. So, like I said before, I don't really spend much time doing this. Maybe in my next video I'll track it completely or exactly. Last week I did in my last video I did actually track what it took me to do the trades I did for that week. So this week just four trades. I'm wondering, I probably will do a cover call if the market continues to stay up. So I was able to beat my 700 for the week, and I believe for the month, here we got August premium. Yeah, it's one of my better months. I'm over 3,123 or nearly 24. And that's with, the rest of today's trading day, tomorrow, and a good bit of next week. So this is going to be one of my better months. So those are my trades. This is my planning worksheet. Again, I encourage you, if you don't have a planning worksheet, get one started to keep track of any trades you're doing. Um, I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions or comments, please add them below. I'll have at the very end of this video, again, how to do the wheel in a bear market. That'll also be the link at the very end on the closing page. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for joining me, and hope you have a wonderful day.